Hi everyone, this video is on finger action, right? This is a term that describes how we move the fingers when we change pitches. And you have often heard the analogy of finger action being like the hammers of a piano, the action of the little hammers inside the piano that strike the string, and it's a good analogy. We teachers, we use this all the time because really, our fingers do sort of work like little hammers hammering. They have a very swift motion, very efficient. It strikes the string and then it releases so the string can vibrate. Okay, so a lot of our finger action will look like this. Also, we strike the string and then we leave the finger down. But then when we do release it, it's a quick release, okay, just like the hammers of the piano. I'm sure you've also heard and you already know that when we lift and drop the finger, we move from the base knuckle. Okay, this gives the most power. It's the most efficient movement. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But first, I just want to help you understand what happens when we do drop the finger. So we have a string that's in motion, a vibrating string. Could be an open string, or we might have another finger down. All right, and this string, it's moving back and forth very, very quickly. So when we drop a finger, we have to do something pretty important. We have to actually stop the vibration of a certain portion of the string. So if I drop my second finger on the A string, this part has to all of a sudden stop vibrating. And this amount of string has to start vibrating differently. So we have to change what we call the envelope of the sound, how fast that string is moving or how wide it's vibrating. And that has to be done in an instant. So if our finger action isn't good, isn't strong, then it takes too much time and you can hear that in the sound. So if I have a lazy finger action, then there's a moment where the string isn't fully stopped and you hear this kind of fuzzy sound before you hear the clear tone. So that's why we need this quick finger action, and it has to be strong. Now, there's a little bit of contradiction. You hear some teachers say, well, you don't need a lot of pressure. You want to have very light pressure. That is true to an extent, but it takes a strong hand to experience the feeling of light pressure. So really when we talk about finger action, we should be talking in terms of effort. All right, so if your hand isn't strong, if it's not developed and you're just starting out, okay, it takes a lot of effort to strike the string down quickly. Now you can hear the pitch when I tap my finger because I'm tapping against the fingerboard and you can hear the pitch, okay, and you can hear the thud of the tap. All right, well, if you're just starting out, you won't be able to hear that because you just haven't developed the necessary strength. So for me, this feels very effortless. So that when I tap the string down and then I hold my finger down, it doesn't take hardly any pressure to keep the finger down or to keep the string down. However, when you're just starting, it will feel effortful, okay? It's going to feel like it requires a lot of effort. So you have to understand that when a teacher says you use light finger pressure or you don't want to use a lot of pressure, that's coming from someone who has a very strong and developed hand for whom keeping the string down is very effortless. All right, so we need to build strength in the hand. But first I want to talk a little bit more about the actual movement of the fingers from the base knuckle. Okay, so now put your violin down and do this with me. I want you just to, hold your thumb out and then just tap your middle finger to your thumb. All right, and I'm going to describe the finger joints in terms of the joints of our legs. All right, so the base joint, we're going to call this the hips, our hips. The middle joint, the knees. And the distal joints, the end joints, we'll call those the ankles of the fingers, okay? Because we all can easily imagine, that this is movement from the hips, this is movement from the knee, and this is movement from the ankle. So now we want to be moving our fingers from the hips, okay? Just like when we walk, all right? When we walk, we move our legs from our hip joints, okay? We don't just lift from the knee and then put the foot down. So when we do this, and just do this with me, and kind of watch and feel how this is lifting back all the way down here in the hips, and just tap the thumb and feel how easy it is to hit the target. Imagine a little target, a little dot on the end of your thumb. Now, a colleague of mine, friend of mine, uses this analogy, so I'm using it too. And it's pretty easy to be consistent and hit the same spot, all right? Now, I want you to freeze up the hips here and just move from the knee, all right? Just move from the knee and then move really fast. It's a little harder to hit in the exact same spot over and over and over. And to me, it's less efficient. It requires a little more effort. And I can feel that if I had to do this quickly, I wouldn't be able to go very fast. If I move from the base knuckle or from the hip, I'm going to have a lot more speed, okay? And now back to that hammering analogy, okay? When we hammer just with a hammer and a nail, imagine just hammering from your elbow joint, all right? It's really not going to be enough strength to really drive the nail into the wood. So we move from here, right? We have a lot more strength that way. So that's why it's really important to move from these base knuckles. Now, back to the nail, all right? So there's a sort of a natural distance, all right, where we would get the most force. Now, if you had the nail was here and you were hammering like this, you probably wouldn't have as much force. It'd be a little harder. There's just sort of a normal distance where you put your body in front of the nail, to get maximum strength. Same, likewise, you wouldn't, make hammering motion. You wouldn't have your hammer and try to nail like that. So for our fingers, when we move from these base knuckles, it's sort of like that. It's a little harder for the first and fourth finger, all right, for the same reasons. The first finger, okay, is so close to the neck, all right, it's so close to the neck that when we lift from the base joint, it's not at an optimal distance to get a really strong action. That's why finger action with the first finger is harder in the beginning, all right? Same with the fourth finger. Okay, that fourth finger, it's like hammering from far away, all right? The knuckle is so far from the neck that it's a little harder to have a really strong action. And if you move that knuckle closer, you can feel how much stronger the finger starts to get. Also, naturally, our pinkies are very weak, so it just requires more training to have good finger action with the fourth finger. Now, the second and third finger, they're sort of at a really good distance. That's why it's easier to have good finger action in the beginning stages with the second and third fingers. Okay, but as you practice, as you become more advanced, the first finger and the fourth finger will catch up. Now, the danger is when you are first playing and you are accidentally, or you're squeezing a little bit, okay, with the first finger. Now you are locking your hip joint, okay, so this is becoming locked, and it's really difficult, almost impossible, not to move from the knee and ankle when we do this. So when this is locked right here, then this is what happens, okay? We lift up and down here. So for this to be able to move from the hip, we have to be able to release. This has to be relaxed, and now we can lift and drop easily. All right, so this is the biggest hindrance in good first finger action, is clenching with the inside of the hand. All right, now you can be touching the neck, that's okay. All right, so I'm going to go back and forth and show you what the finger action should look like with the first finger, all right, and what it shouldn't look like. So this is with some tension, this is with some squeezing on the inside of the hand, And now I'm lifting and dropping, right, from the middle knuckle or from the knee joint. Okay, now it's relaxed. Okay, not good. Good. So I want you to practice these tapping, I want you to tap the thumb, just when you have a moment when you're away from the violin. And what I want you to do is to start isolating, all right? We have to learn how to isolate movements. And the movement of pinching, of moving the thumb when we drop the finger is so strong. It's so built in to our psyches, so natural to do that you have to work hard not to do it. So see if you can keep this completely still, the whole thumb, the muscle down here, it is inert, okay? It's just relaxed and not moving. And now drop the finger. And I ask students to do this, and even though I describe it, they still move the thumb along with the finger. It's really hard to isolate. You may be able to do it with your other hand. If you're right-handed, you may be able to do it more easily with the right hand. So sometimes you can do things with the right hand to teach the left hand. So drop without moving the thumb. And then, of course, doing finger action exercises, tapping exercises on the violin is so, so important. Again, you want to build a really strong hand so that dropping quickly, releasing quickly, and holding the string down without effort becomes your normal, becomes very natural. So start just working. You won't hear the tap, you won't hear your fingerboard thud at first, but if you keep working on it, you will slowly start to hear that. Now, to have a really efficient movement, ideally, we just drop and lift, and sometimes people have a big wind up. They lift high before they drop, okay? This isn't an efficient movement, so just see if you can just have your hands are sort of natural height above the fingers, and then drop. And again, the first finger is always harder because it's at a disadvantage. It's so close to this side of the neck that it just naturally isn't as strong. And then at some point start working on that fourth finger. Now you'll find when you start tapping with the fourth finger, the impulse to squeeze back here with this muscle here is so great, all right? It takes a lot of focus. It's a real mental exercise to isolate that and to try to tap the pinky without tightening the thumb, okay? So do this in your spare time. After you've practiced, maybe you're mentally tired and you need to take a little mental break, do something else. You can still do this, all right? You can watch a video or something while you do this. All right, so be working on the finger action. We want a really strong, good, clean finger action. That's just one of those things that violinists develop, and of course there's all kinds of exercises, and you'll see later in the sequence we'll have some finger action actual pieces and exercises to strengthen your finger action.